Witnessing the Nine Uncles Talisman and obtaining the skill of Talisman depiction. Witnessing Uncle Gio running and obtaining the skill, Flying Scud. Witnessing Uncle Nine's approach or advanced flirting skills. Lu Yao traveled through a different world and witnessed others using their abilities to acquire skills. Lu Yao. Uncle Gio, don't sleep, go deal with things quickly. Uncle Gio. I'm clearly a freelancer, but since you came here, I've had a feeling of working. Keywords of the novel. Follow Uncle Gio to pick up the skill without a pop-up window. Follow Uncle Gio to pick up the skill TXT complete collection download. Follow Uncle Gio to pick up the skill latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Learning Talent. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Learning Talent. No, I still can't open your door. If the door is not opened, it is destined to have no connection with Taoism in this lifetime. Xiao Lu, why don't you use the money left by your father to do some business? Don't follow our path anymore. After hearing Uncle Gio's negation again, Lu Yao smiled bitterly and shook his head. 3 days ago, Lu Yao woke up to find that he had actually traveled to Uncle Gio's world. Here, demons run rampant and ghosts dance wildly, making it a very dangerous world. In order to survive, Lu Yao found his ninth uncle who lived across from his own house and wanted to learn from his master and become proficient in Taoism. However, he was rejected by Uncle Gio. The reason is that Lu Yao has no natural talent for cultivation and cannot become a Taoist. There is a foundation in the memory inherited from the original owner regarding this point. In my memory, the father of the original owner of the body and the master of the ninth uncle were martial brothers, but this father spent a great deal to erase Lu Yao's talent in order to prevent his son from embarking on a path of cultivation against the heavens. This means that Lu Yao can only stay in the ranks of ordinary people for a lifetime, guarding the huge family property left by the original owner's father. Every time Lu Yao thinks of that huge inheritance, he feels a headache. It's not that I feel like I have too much money, but rather that this era is too dangerous, and it's extremely easy to have the ability to make a living without spending it. It's still safer to have the skills in hand. Uncle Gio, is there really no hope left? Lu Yao asked persistently. Uncle Gio, who was sitting across from him, shook his head and said, No, Xiao Lu, listen to me and do business safely. In terms of seniority, 2 people should be of the same generation, but Lu Yao always felt uncomfortable calling Chao Jiushu big brother, so he followed the crowd and called him Jiushu. Okay. Uncle Gio, although I don't have talent, can you let me watch from the side when you use Taoist techniques? Lu Yao still didn't give up. He doesn't believe that as a traveler, there would be no cheats. Perhaps just a few more glances will trigger the cheat. This is fine, Uncle Gio nodded. It's just a waste of your time. It's okay. Lu Yao said, that's settled. I'll go home first. Okay. Uncle Gio nodded solemnly and said, Zhosheng, literary talent, the little uncle who sent you a gift. Yes, master. 2 young people entered the house from outside the door. No need, Uncle Gio. My house is right across from me and there's nothing to give away. The distance from Uncle Gio's house to his home is actually only a few meters. After all, he lives across the street, and no matter how far it is, it's not far away. Lu Yao saw a woman with disheveled hair sitting at the neighbor's door, looking crazy with crazy eyes, repeating in her mouth, 11. 11. 2 days ago, what she was reciting was not this number, but 10. It wasn't until Lu Yao went over to say hello and was suddenly slapped by the woman that the number she was reciting became 11. It was then that Lu Yao understood the meaning of the number. The woman's eyes were fixed on Lu Yao. However, Lu Yao ignored the woman and was about to walk home when he suddenly saw a head with 2 braids sticking out from the street door behind her. His eyes carefully scrutinized Lu Yao. After discovering that Lu Yao had noticed her, the little girl quickly retracted her head and later peeked out again, taking another peek. This is the woman's daughter, named Zhao Xiaoyuan. She is about 18 or 19 years old this year, and she looks really handsome. What is most commendable is that she is mentally normal. Lu Yao waved at the little girl and went straight home. Zhao Xiaoyuan ran back to the room with a red face and did not leave for a long time. Returning home and lying in bed, Lu Yao began to contemplate the next plan. If the path to cultivation is not feasible, then we can only do business, but it's not easy to do business in this era. Relying on the huge family wealth left by my old father, it is enough to live a life aimlessly. However, that kind of life of eating and waiting to die is definitely not what Lu Yao wants. During his contemplation, Lu Yao suddenly saw a black shadow flashing outside the door. This is daytime, and the sunlight outside the door can clearly cast all shadows on the paper pasted on the doors and windows. What person? Lu Yao immediately got out of bed, got dressed, and took the machete he had gotten up with. From the body shape that flashed by just now, it doesn't seem robust. With my current strength, I should be able to control the opponent. Lu Yao carefully opened the door, and the cool breeze outside seeped into the crack, causing goosebumps all over. Through the crack in the door, Lu Yao didn't see anything, but the scene just now was very clear. The other party must have been hiding somewhere in the yard. Lu Yao slowly widened the door crack. However, at this moment, a rope fell from the sky and wrapped around his neck. Immediately after, the rope tightened and exerted force, dragging Lu Yao's body to rub against the ground. Bang! Lu Yao's head hit the leg of the bed, almost fainting, but he didn't care about the pain on his head and struggled with both hands to untie the rope around his neck. In the line of sight, a woman wearing a red long dress hung on the beam of her own house, swaying gently from side to side, with no extra organs on her smooth face as embellishments. Faceless female demon. Surprisingly, there is an extra female demon at home. Damn it, this world is too dangerous. Lu Yao's heart was filled with despair. I'm going to die again. At this moment, a heavenly sound sounded, and Lu Yao instantly felt that he had regained his energy. Detected that the host is about to die, the steel learning system is automatically activated, and binding is in progress. Binding successful, analyzing host information. Name: Lu Yao. Age: destroyed. Speed: 0.1, power. 0.1, spiritual power. 0, learning talent. Second class and low level. Ability: none. Weapon: none. Then. The system fell into silence. Perhaps due to a comprehensive analysis of Lu Yao's weak strength, or perhaps a cooling-off period required after activation, the system fell into silence. Hey! Help! Do me a favor! Lu Yao shouted in his heart. Perhaps the belief in wanting to survive moved the system, and this thing finally spoke up. Detected that the host's survival desire is greater than heaven, spiritual power plus 0.5. Witnessing the female demon unleashing her abilities and obtaining a basic skill. Ghost rope control. In an instant, Lu Yao felt that there was something more in his consciousness. Even if due to lack of oxygen, all bodily perceptions are almost dissipated and consciousness is completely blurred. The sudden addition of something seemed to have poured a basin of ice water on the drowsy person. Lu Yao has completely regained consciousness. He suddenly opened his eyes wide, his mind twitched, and the rope around his neck slowly untied. Lu Yao, who was able to breathe, greedily absorbed the nearby air and never felt that breathing was such a wonderful thing. The faceless woman felt a mutation and realized something was wrong. She wanted to leave quickly. However, Lu Yao took the lead and quickly lowered the ghost rope hanging around the neck of the faceless woman. Bang! The faceless woman fell to the ground and smashed the floor. Damn it! You're sitting on a floor of 10 ocean pieces and breaking 4 pieces for me. Lu Yao's face was filled with heartache. How to solve this faceless woman? If the ghost rope is excessively tightened, will it strangle this faceless woman? Lu Yao tried to control the ghost rope to tighten. The faceless woman struggled frantically, slapping her hands and feet on the ground, shaking her head and shaking her hair. It has no mouth and can only express its pain through body language. The struggle of the faceless woman gradually decreased, until there was no movement at all. Lu Yao still hasn't let go of the ghost rope. God knows if this thing will pretend to be dead like a human. Keeping the ghost rope tightened, Lu Yao stepped forward and kicked the faceless woman twice. Well, there hasn't been much reaction. Lu Yao brought scissors and cut off all the hair of the faceless woman. She still didn't respond. It seems that it really doesn't work. Lu Yao slowly loosened the ghost rope. The human heart is not ancient, heaven and earth have eyes. You have solved the heinous faceless woman and obtained a large amount of elemental power, which can be freely transformed into speed, strength, spiritual power, or learning talent. Lu Yao sat on the bed, feeling his chin and getting entangled. Speed and strength are certainly the most necessary for survival, but the role of mental power cannot be underestimated, and learning talent. The higher the talent for learning, the more advanced the abilities that can be learned. For example, with his current, inferior and low-level talent, Lu Yao only learned basic ghost rope control. However, if his talent is even higher, he may acquire intermediate or even advanced ghost rope control abilities. After pondering for a long time, Lu Yao decided to apply his so-called original power to his learning talent. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Lucky Moments. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Lucky Moments. Name: Lu Yao. Age: destroyed. Speed: 0.1, power. 0.1, spiritual power. 0.5, learning talent. Second rank intermediate. Ability: none. Weapon: none. As Lu Yao applied his source power to his learning talent, the faceless woman on the ground transformed into a black aura that dissipated and disappeared. This faceless woman is not worth much, it only adds a small level of learning talent. Lu Yao felt that the conversion ratio was somewhat disproportionate. But it doesn't matter anymore. We have all the means to save our lives, why do we need a bicycle? Lu Yao was not in a hurry to share his joy with Uncle Jiao. My own power system and Uncle Jiao are not the same family. If I were to be treated as a sorcerer and turned around to clean up for myself, then where would he go to reason? Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Yao was idle and decided to go shopping. I have been here for 3 days and have been lamenting that I am unable to cultivate and have no intention of understanding the outside world. But now, Lu Yao has time. After leaving the door, the neighbor's woman still sat on the stone pier at the door, muttering, 12, in her mouth. Well, it seems that during this period of time, another unlucky person came up to show their love and ended up being slapped as soon as Lu Yao left. The woman stared at him with fiery eyes, as if seeing 13. Looking at the foolish woman, Lu Yao hesitated and walked over. 12, 12, 12. The woman murmured more and more frequently, and her body trembled even more violently, with excitement overflowing in her words. Lu Yao stopped where the woman's arm couldn't reach, looked into her eyes, and said, "Foolish and crazy people. Can you still remember the order of numbers?" The woman stuttered for a moment, still muttering, but there was a hint of panic in her eyes. Lu Yao continued, "What made you pretend to be crazy and foolish, always foolishly facing the world? Tell me, what are you afraid of?" 12. 12. The panic in the woman's eyes became increasingly severe. "Isn't it convenient to say that?" Lu Yao smiled and shook his head. "I will come to ask you once a day until it's convenient for you to tell the truth." After speaking, Lu Yao turned his head and left whistling. He felt that women were pretending to be foolish not only because of numerical issues, but also because when they hit someone, there was a hint of resistance and fierce hostility in their eyes. This feeling is like parents discovering that their child has done something wrong and having to take action to teach them a lesson, while feeling heartbroken and thrusting a stick on their child. So, Lu Yao felt that women were sober. The inheritance of the original owner's memory is incomplete, so Lu Yao is unaware of some details and can only slowly explore. Watching Lu Yao's departing figure, the woman murmured, 12. 12. 12 people. Mom, what are you looking at? Suddenly, my daughter's voice came from behind. The woman trembled all over and continued to murmur, 12. 12. The street is really lively. People traveling from south to north, setting up stalls and performing arts, carrying burdens and wandering the streets and alleys. All kinds of people showcase the style of this era to the fullest. The goods were dazzling, and Lu Yao didn't know what to buy, after all. He didn't even know these items. In his world, in his era, many old objects had already been phased out or updated. So, there are many things that Lu Yao really doesn't know unless he hears their names. Somehow, Lu Yao reached a Qinhuang temple. I thought to myself, since all the Taoists in this world are true, then there should also be immortals like the city god, right? To satisfy his curiosity, Lu Yao entered the Qinhuang temple. There is not much incense in the temple, as if it has been in disrepair for decades, and the wood in many places has decayed. Before entering the main hall, Lu Yao saw a young woman kneeling on a cattail, with a bamboo basket beside her. It was empty inside, possibly because the offerings she had brought had already been placed on the table. But strangely, behind the woman stood a sturdy man in a luxurious robe with a beard, holding a black brush and gently tapping it on her head. The woman still knelt devoutly, as if she had not noticed anything. Lu Yao squinted his eyes and looked at the strange person. Is this the true body of the city god? Can he touch the true body of the city god as soon as he comes? Is this a bit too coincidental? Seemingly sensing Lu Yao's gaze, the man holding the brush turned his head 180 degrees back and stared closely at Lu Yao. However, Lu Yao ignored this guy's gaze and walked straight into the main hall, naturally sitting on a futon, facing the city god statue in even numbers. Amitabha Buddha. Lu Yaonian said. City god. The city god, holding the dust brush, couldn't help but scratch his head, thinking to himself, might this kid have gone to the wrong temple? At this time, the woman who knelt beside wiped her tears, got up, took up the basket and turned away from the Qinhuang temple. For a moment, only Lu Yao and the city god remained in the main hall. Lu Yao sat expressionlessly on the cattail, seemingly praying devoutly, but in reality, he silently noticed the every move of the city god. It shouldn't be. The city god muttered to himself, I clearly felt that the surveillance gaze was coming from him, but he didn't even look at me. Obviously, the city god at this time was somewhat confused. Since that's the case, why not give him a try? The city god's eyes twirled and his mind came up with a plan. He walked up to Lu Yao, raised a brush, and lightly tapped his head. Although he didn't know what he was doing, Lu Yao knew that it shouldn't be a good thing. Witnessing the city god unleashing his abilities and obtaining a basic skill. Bad luck strikes. Weapon obtained. Advanced city god dust sweeper. In an instant, Lu Yao felt like he had gained another ability, and at the same time, in the portable space created by the system, there was an additional black brush, which even looked more advanced than the city god's. At the same time, Lu Yao finally knew what the city god was doing to him. Apply misfortune. Simply put, it means making Lu Yao unlucky in the coming period of time. City god, this terrible old man has a very bad heart. Lu Yao thought to himself. He was not afraid that this bad luck would bring him any trouble, because Lu Yao, who had learned the ability of bad luck, had already quietly transferred the bad luck bestowed upon him by the city god. Moreover, the next person to enter the Qinhuang temple will get this bad luck. It's not as bad as losing one's life, but it's really possible to drink cold water and stuff your teeth. It seems that I really overthought. The city god muttered to himself, then put away the dust. Lu Yao never made any response from beginning to end. Seeing that the waiting time was almost over, Lu Yao decided to leave. After all, there are still many places waiting for him to familiarize himself with. Get up, pat the fluff on your buttocks, turn around, and walk towards the door. The city god stood in the main hall, watching Lu Yao, thinking to himself, why hasn't this guy's bad luck started to take effect yet? Normally, Pang had a lot of bad luck before leaving the city god temple. At least he could fall down. How could the city god know that the bad luck he had imposed on Lu Yao had already been quietly transferred? At this point, Lu Yao had already walked to the center of the yard. Just then, 3 more people suddenly appeared outside the Chenghuang temple. 9 uncles and Qiu Shengguan Kai appeared at the gate of Chenghuang temple at the same time. Uncle Jiu. Lu Yao stopped and shouted in surprise. Xiao Lu. Why are you here? Seeing Lu Yao, Uncle Jiu looked surprised and unconsciously stepped into the Chenghuang temple. Don't. Before Lu Yao could dissuade him, he saw Uncle Jiu step over the threshold. The black aura that was originally floating on the door frame as a symbol of bad luck suddenly smashed down and entered Uncle Jiu's body. It's over. Barbie's cue now. Lu Yao murmured. Uncle Jiu didn't notice at all and ran straight towards Lu Yao, only to accidentally step on his left foot and fall to the ground with a bang. Lu Yao. Dot. Uncle Jiu. What? Master. Qiu Shengguan saw the situation and quickly stepped forward to help. Uncle Jiu, who had a good face, quickly stood up on his own and awkwardly smiled, saying, you're in a hurry, you're in a hurry. Xiao Lu you. Oh. Bang. Just took 2 steps and fell to the ground again, it was even more serious than before. Uncle Jiu. What? It shouldn't be that way. I read the almanac before going out, and today I shouldn't be memorizing it like this. Uncle Jiu looked puzzled however. At this moment, Lu Yao noticed a figure passing by and running towards Uncle Jiu. It's the true form of the city god. I saw the city god come to Uncle Jiu and take out a white brush, gently tapping Uncle Jiu's head. Witnessing the city god unleashing his abilities and obtaining intermediate skill. Luck in the head. Weapon obtained. Intermediate city god dust sweeper. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Hurry home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Hurry home is good luck ahead. It seems that the city god has a lot of things to offer. Lu Yao couldn't help but be surprised in his heart. The 2 completely opposite abilities, which can bring good luck to people and bring bad luck to them, were stolen by Lu Yao and even surpassed by Blue. At this moment, the city god stood next to Uncle Jiu, clutching his head with a puzzled expression. How could this be? The good luck I brought can't wipe away your mold. Lin Laojiu, you're going to be in big trouble, said the city god. Sitting on the ground, Uncle Jiu looked at the city god and said, if you can't wipe it, don't wipe it anymore. My head is about to be shattered by your dust brush. Okay. But the remaining bad luck can only stay in your body for a long time. You will be very unlucky until it is completely consumed, said the city god. No problem. Uncle Jiu got up and waved his hand, looking calm and relaxed. He picked up his hand and said, I believe I can break through all obstacles. At that time, a banana skin flew in from outside the Chenghuang temple and fell at Uncle Jiu's feet. Uncle Jiu, who walked solemnly towards Lu Yao, noticed the banana peel and smiled lightly, saying, as long as I can notice the danger, I can perfectly avoid it, just like this. Bang bang. Just as Joshu was about to close his foot, there was a crisp sound on his knee, and his leg fell uncontrollably, stepping on a banana peel. Slide, plop. Kneeling steadily in front of Lu Yao. Uncle 9. Dot. Lu Yao. Dot. You see, I reminded you earlier. The city god grabbed 2 fists of his own hair. Uncle Jiu, are you okay? Lu Yao quickly stepped forward to help Uncle Jiu. No problem. This small injury is nothing compared to the pain of practicing martial arts back then. Uncle Jiu smiled calmly and said, my physique is not enough to fall apart. Bang! The roof beam of the temple broke and fell, hitting Uncle Jiu's head. I saw Uncle Jiu roll his white eyes and fall to the ground unconscious. Lu Yao silently took 2 steps back and distanced himself from Uncle Jiu. So, are you 3 masters and disciples here to find the city god? In the Chenghuang temple, Lu Yao and Qiu Shengwenkai sat in a circle on the futon. Yeah, Qiusheng said, judging from master's appearance just now, it seems that he has already met the city god. It's possible that the true body of the city god is right next to us. The 2 senior brothers didn't open their eyes and couldn't see the true body of the city god. However, Lu Yao could see that the current city god was holding a pair of pink embroidered shoes, with a face full of enjoyment. What are you looking for the city god? Lu Yao asked curiously. Master said he received a letter from the city god, which mentioned a major event and asked us to discuss it. Are these 3 masters and disciples here to lead the mission together? Lu Yao couldn't help but wonder what kind of task the city god would assign to Uncle Jiu and his team. At this moment, Uncle Jiu leisurely woke up and got up in a daze, saying, how long have I been unconscious? 2/4 of an hour, Lu Yao said. Fortunately, it's not too long. Uncle Jiu gently touched the big lump on his head, with a painful expression on his face. Wake up. The city god put down his embroidered shoes and came to Uncle Jiu. He crouched down and looked into Uncle Jiu's eyes. Interestingly, your moldy head was taken in by someone. Although I don't know who it is, I can be certain that this person's strength is above mine. Oh. Is there anyone stronger than you? Uncle Jiu exclaimed in surprise, how could Tang Tang's city god be willing to bow down? Oh, aren't you just one? The city god sneered, why don't you give it a try and see if you can resolve this bad luck yourself? No, Uncle Jiu replied decisively, I can't feel the existence of this bad luck at all. Then let's not dwell on this, anyway the other party didn't want your life. The city god waved his hand without delving deeper. At this moment, Uncle Jiu suddenly thought of a question. He looked at his 2 disciples with normal expressions and then looked at Lu Yao, who had a slightly puzzled expression, and said. Xiao Lu, you must be curious about who I'm talking to, right? Lu Yao nodded, pretending to be genuinely curious. I'm talking to the city god here. Uncle Jiu said, so you don't have to be too surprised. I see. Lu Yao nodded, Amitabha Buddha, pay respects to the city god. Uncle Jiu. What? Lin Laojiu, don't pull me. This kid has been nagging about the monk's way of doing things since he just came in. This is the way he came to slap me in the face. Today, I must teach him a lesson. Calm down. Uncle Jiu pressed the city god's arm, this is Lu Tsuantian's son. The city god was taken aback and said, what is this? Lu Tsuantian's son. So, this is the rumored useless son of Lu Tsuantian. Lu Yao. Can't hear, I guess so, Uncle Jiu sighed and said, he's still a child. Implicitly, this is a child with a fragile heart. Don't waste your time shouting. Okay. The city god looked at Lu Yao with a hint of fear in his eyes. Obviously, the father Lu Tsuantian's name suppressed this city god lord. Let's get to the point, what's the purpose of coming to me this time? Is there another accident in the town? Uncle Jiu got to the point. The city god nodded and said with a worried expression, recently, there has been an additional great Shah in the town. I don't know where it comes from, and it looks quite handsome. I am willing to seduce those handsome young people. She has caused trouble for most of us handsome young people from all over the country. What do you mean by this disaster? Click. The city god gestured with a motion of wiping his neck. Uncle Gio's face darkened and he said, "What is the strength of that great Shah?" "At least at the level of the Ghost King," said the city god. "Ghost King?" Uncle Gio's face became even worse. "That's someone who can go crazy and directly destroy a town. It's probably difficult to deal with." "That's right." The city god nodded in agreement, but about an hour ago, the fate of that great demon suddenly dimmed, leaving only a very weak light. "Has her fate darkened?" Uncle Gio was taken aback for a moment. "So she was injured. Who did it?" "I don't know." The city god shook his head. "This is the most worrisome thing for me. There is a terrifying presence in the town that is even more terrifying than the great Shah, and we don't even know any information about him. Even if we haven't noticed any rumors, we're afraid something will happen. Master seems to be a lunatic." On the side, Qiu Sheng, Wen Kai, and Lu Yao gathered together and whispered. "Uncle Gio should be talking to the city god, right?" Lu Yao said, "Are you talking about something about the great evil?" "It should be." Qiu Sheng said, "I really heard some rumors about this great evil." "Oh." Lu Yao became interested and said, "Tell me, what did you hear?" Qiu Sheng glanced at Uncle Gio first, confirmed that he wasn't looking this way, and whispered, "This is what I heard from the mother of Chen Honglu. Spring Red Mansion. What kind of place are you going to?" Wen Kai almost shouted out. "Is it that kind of place?" Lu Yao asked. He suddenly realized that certain places in this world are allowed to be opened. Qiu Sheng nodded and said, "Mom over there said there's a gang member who's been picking up customers all over the street lately. The key is that those people are still following her, but never coming back. It said that someone has seen this gang member with a human skin face, no facial features, dressed in red clothes, and as long as they hook their hands, everyone next to them has to follow her." Lu Yao suddenly froze. Why does this sound like a faceless woman? He continued, "What kind of posture are those men in when they follow her?" "You're asking the right person." Qiu Sheng said, "It said that your body is so straight and tilted forward, with two arms hanging down, it looks like dragging a dead dog." Lu Yao couldn't help but twitch at the corner of his mouth. "Got it, solved the case. This great evil is the one I killed at home not long ago. The people who were lured away by her were not actively following her, but were forcibly dragged away by her ghost rope wrapped around their necks." Lu Yao glanced at Uncle Gio and noticed that Uncle Gio and the city god were still discussing seriously. These two had no idea that the great evil that had caused them so much attention had already been dealt with by Lu Yao. But at the same time, a question arose in Lu Yao's heart. When he fought against the faceless woman, the strength displayed by the other party did not seem to be able to destroy a town. And upon closer reflection, it seems that the faceless woman at that time was seriously injured. So here's the question. Who beat the faceless woman into a serious injury? The more Lu Yao thought about it, the more terrifying he felt the faceless woman appeared in her own home. If she hadn't been severely injured outside, wouldn't it mean there was still something terrifying hidden in her home? Although it was just speculation, Lu Yao's unease in his heart was gradually increasing. "No, I have to hurry home and take a look." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Why didn't you die? You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 5. Red Face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Red Face. That night, I killed you. One sentence revealed a vast amount of information. Firstly, one man and one woman sharing a room in the evening. Secondly, the man didn't do anything. Finally, the man was killed by the woman. Lu Yao's memory is incomplete, and he really can't recall how the original owner of his body died. I originally thought that as a bachelor, living alone, being unrestrained, and experiencing sudden death would happen from time to time. But now it seems that the original cause of death for the owner of this body is not that simple. What do you mean by that? Lu Yao asked tentatively. Don't you really remember? Zhao Xiaoyuan still looked innocent, his eyes dodging as he looked at Lu Yao and said, "That night, you said you wanted something nice for me to see, and then I brought it to your house. 3 days ago." "Yes, you remember 3 days ago." Zhao Xiaoyuan lowered his head. "But as soon as I came in, you started messing around with me and I killed you." The relaxed tone made Lu Yao feel numb all over. Is this what a little girl should say? But it's not right. Zhao Xiaoyuan continued, looking up at the beam on the roof and saying, "I've even sucked your soul clean. Why can your body still move? Aren't you Yao brother? Can absorb souls?" Lu Yao's expression remained unchanged and he said, "That's right, I'm not." He. Zhao Xiaoyuan's face lit up with joy and he said with a rosy expression, "I knew you must have been resurrected with a corpse. Brother Yao in the past didn't have your temperament at all. It's so annoying. Your temperament makes me unable to bear to kill you again. If you don't want to kill, then don't kill. Stay here tonight and I'll make pork ribs for you to eat." Lu Yao smiled. "No, Uncle Gio and the others should be back in the evening. It won't be so easy to kill you then." In an instant, Zhao Xiaoyuan's face began to congest and became increasingly bright red, as if a layer of makeup oil had been applied to her face. Why are the ghosts in this world either shameless or red-faced? Lu Yao silently took a step back, ready to open the door and run away. The aura emanating from Zhao Xiaoyuan with Guan Gong's face is too strong, much stronger than that of a faceless woman. Lu Yao had no doubt that at the moment of using the ghost rope, the other party would directly cut off the ghost rope. "Brother Yao, do you want to run, right?" Zhao Xiaoyuan chuckled, "No way, you can't run out. Even if you say it, it doesn't count." Lu Yao opened the door directly, stepped into the yard, and ran towards the gate. However, at this moment, the door of the house opened a crack, and the crazy woman was peering through that crack with her eyes into everything that was happening here. Lu Yao gritted his teeth. Surprisingly, the other party still has a backhand. "Come back." A pair of white and tender hands embraced Lu Yao from behind, their palms pressed tightly against his chest. Immediately after, a powerful force came, and Lu Yao was dragged into the room and thrown onto the bed like a dead dog. The bedboard creaked. Red-faced Zhao Xiaoyuan slowly fell from above, with countless maggots wriggling together with her tongue in her slightly open mouth, densely packed. "I swear, if you dare to touch me with your tongue, I'll have to kill you even if I die today," Lu Yao said coldly. "But how can I kill you without my tongue?" Zhao Xiaoyuan stopped in mid-air and extended his tongue, like a ball on his tongue. The maggots wriggled and were covered in mucus. Lu Yao's hand reached into his pocket, he couldn't bear it anymore. "Anyway, let's smash a thunderbolt first, and we'll talk about the rest later." Witnessing the female demon unleashing her abilities and obtaining the intermediate ghost servant. Poison tongue woman. Ghost servants. Poisonous tongued woman. Upon hearing this, Lu Yao felt somewhat surprised. I didn't expect to witness the opponent's ability and gain things beyond skills and weapons, such as ghost servants. Zhao Xiaoyuan's body is still slowly falling. Lu Yao's gaze turned to the corner of the room. It was quite dark there, and there stood a woman with a blue and purple face, motionless and lifeless in her eyes. Intermediate ghost servant, without self-awareness, only listens to the owner's wishes. Fuck her. Lu Yao shouted. What? Zhao Xiaoyuan's face changed and he suddenly turned his head to look at the corner. Is this? She saw a zombie-like woman slowly walking over, her long black tongue sticking out, swaying gently with the movement of her body. What is this thing? Zhao Xiaoyuan turned to look at Lu Yao and asked sternly. The long-tongued woman walking towards this side made her instinctively feel fear. Well. Lu Yao thought carefully and said, this is my good friend. Zhao Xiaoyuan. What a mess. The poisonous tongue woman has walked to the bed. Zhao Xiaoyuan's body pressed tightly against the wall on one side of the bed, carefully staring at the poisonous tongue woman. The tongue of the poisonous tongue woman slowly lifted up, like a wandering snake lying on the ground, slowly wriggling and lifting its head. The actions of the poisonous tongue woman completely made Zhao Xiaoyuan lose control. Zhao Xiaoyuan, with a red face, suddenly raised his hands and grabbed the tongue of the long-tongued woman, pulling it hard backwards. However, the poison-tongue woman retracted her tongue and dragged Zhao Xiaoyuan's body back, slamming it onto the ground and almost knocking over the table. At this moment, Lu Yao quickly got up, got out of bed, walked to the table, picked up 2 pounds of pork ribs, and placed them in the wardrobe. Fighting is okay, the ribs cannot be stained. The poisonous tongue woman rushed towards Zhao Xiaoyuan, her tongue dancing wildly. Lu Yao discovered that the poison tongue woman wanted to thrust her long tongue into Zhao Xiaoyuan's maggot-infested tongue, which may be her ability. Zhao Xiaoyuan seemed to have noticed this too, but she didn't want to take action against the poisonous tongue woman. Instead, she set her gaze on Lu Yao. What strength can a person who uses waste corpses to revive their soul have? Kill you first, and then slowly solve this long tongue. Bang! Zhao Xiaoyuan rushed out with a sharp sword and headed straight for Lu Yao. Ghost rope. Lu Yao instantly activated the ghost rope, wrapping it around Zhao Xiaoyuan's ankle and disrupting Zhao Xiaoyuan's footsteps. Is this a ghost rope? Zhao Xiaoyuan recognized it at a glance and looked at Lu Yao with a shocked expression. You actually solved that shameless guy. Stop talking nonsense. Lu Yao's hand was filled with advanced bad luck. He didn't know if this thing had any effect on the red-faced women in front of him. Dust. Zhao Xiaoyuan's face was surprised again. Where did you take it from? Why is your dust black again? Shut up. Lu Yao took a swift step forward, lifted the brush and aimed it directly at Zhao Xiaoyuan's head, smashing it down. Bang! With a muffled sound, Zhao Xiaoyuan's bright red face was cut off in half. Why didn't you hide? Lu Yao took a step back and stared at Zhao Xiaoyuan with a puzzled expression, while also stepping on half of his face on the ground to prevent him from becoming a demon. At this moment, Zhao Xiaoyuan, who had lost half of his face, stood in place, staring blankly at the dust in Lu Yao's hand. He opened his mouth and said, "This dust is puzzy. Tear it off." Before Zhao Xiaoyuan could finish speaking, the poisonous tongue woman suddenly attacked and used her long tongue to pull out Zhao Xiaoyuan's maggot-covered tongue, tearing it off and swallowing it. I'll go. You can't do it until she's finished. Lu Yao could not help roast. The poisonous tongue woman stood in place with no further movement. Zhao Xiaoyuan covered her mouth and looked at Lu Yao in panic, making a sound in her mouth. Seeing that the situation was not good, she turned around, smashed through the door, rushed out of the room, and quickly disappeared. Lu Yao stood inside the house, looking at the wooden door that had been smashed by Zhao Xiaoyuan, wanting to cry without tears. Damn it, the door to $30 worth of ocean. With Zhao Xiaoyuan's disappearance, the crazy woman at the door had also left and returned to the stone pillar at her own doorstep, muttering, 14. However, her tone began to tremble, her eyes turning red and uncontrollable tears streaming down her face. Bada. Bada, drops of tears fall to the ground and seep into the ground. A gust of wind blew by, lifting the woman's hair. A red face growing on the back of her head slowly opened its eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Eating more blocks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. How many more eats dong dong dong. After the sky darkened, there was a knocking outside the door. Here we go. Lu Yao, who had just thrown the pork ribs into the pot and blanched them, took out a talisman as a precaution and opened the door. Ha! Uncle Jiu. Have you all come back? Lu Yao said with a smile. Outside the door stood 3 disciples of Uncle Jiu, with Uncle Gio holding a paper crane that flapped its wings wildly, not knowing what it was. Seeing Lu Yao wearing an apron, Uncle Gio, whose face was originally somewhat solemn, seemed to think of something and said, "Where's stewed pork ribs?" "Ah." Lu Yao twitched at the corner of his mouth, "I guess so, you guys. Since you sincerely invite me, I can't deny your face. Xiao Xingwen Kai, go bring the jar of good wine that Mr. Wang gave me last time. Tonight, I want to have a good drink with your uncle. Lu Yao. Hey guy, you're putting your face out for some meat. Good master." Qiu Xingwen didn't think Uncle Gio was so embarrassing, but instead wished his master could do it, because they could also eat meat with him. "No need, Uncle Gio." Lu Yao stopped Qiu Xingwen Kai and said to Uncle Gio, "I have wine at home, take any jar to drink." "Okay." Uncle Gio pursed his lips, "I believe these wines must have been saved by your father back then. They are all good wines. Stop talking here, come in quickly." Lu Yao called out. Quickly, Uncle Gio and his disciples entered the room and found a copper pot on the table inside. "Xiao Lu, are you going to make some hot pot meat?" "Qiu Wen Kai, go home and bring my favorite sesame oil. I need to make a good oil plate." "Yes, master. By the way, let's see what we can offer as a gift at home. Bring it over, we can't come empty-handed as guests." "Good master." "Wait a moment." Lu Yao rolled his eyes and said, "Uncle Gio, since you're so enthusiastic, I'll just say it. Do you think you can get me some black dog blood and chicken blood? I want to practice drawing symbols." Hua Fu. Speaking of this, Uncle Gio's excited expression calmed down a bit, with a slightly worried expression on his brow. "Sai, are you still not giving up? Without talent, one cannot draw symbols. Anyway, if you're free, just draw whatever you want." Lu Yao smiled. "Okay then." Quickly, Qiu Shengwen brought the black dog blood and chicken blood that Lu Yao needed. At this point, the pork ribs in the pot are almost cooked. Lu Yao pulled out the pork ribs and served a large bowl of pork ribs with soup, emitting a strong aroma. Qiu Shengwen Kai was already eager to move his chopsticks. Uncle Gio also had an unbearable expression on his face. "Don't worry," Lu Yao said, "you haven't fully matured yet." Uncle Gio was taken aback. "Are you going to do this? I'll make you some new dishes tonight, pork ribs and hot pot. There are also meat slices in the kitchen, I'll go get them and cook them together later." Lu Yao explained. "Can you still eat like this?" Uncle Gio looked surprised and said, "It sounds great. Yeah, pretty good." Qiu Sheng and Wen Kai stared intently at the pork ribs in the copper pot, drooling profusely. The thought of waiting for more meat slices made the two of them even more excited. "Here comes the meat slices." Lu Yao brought the meat slices. The copper pot has also been filled with red charcoal, and the water temperature is gradually rising. Lu Yao opened a small gap in the window to maintain ventilation inside the house. At this moment, a few people began to chat. "Uncle Gio, how is the matter that you said in the Chenghuang temple this afternoon? Is it solved?" Lu Yao took the opportunity to ask. "In theory, there will be no outcome to this matter. After all, the faceless woman has already been killed, and Uncle Gio and his team should not be able to investigate." After hearing Lu Yao's words, the master and disciple exchanged a glance. "Well, it's actually like this." 9 uncles looked at Lu Yao with a slightly serious face and said. "After coming out of the Chenghuang temple, I used a paper crane to find the whereabouts of the evil spirit. The result. What was the result?" Lu Yao couldn't help but wonder, why did he still start playing tricks? "It seems that Uncle Gio is in a difficult situation. That paper crane flew all the way to your doorstep and then stopped." Lu Yao. Crouching slot, what kind of spell is this, so awesome? Faceless women are already dead, how could this paper crane still be found? Lu Yao said calmly, what do you mean? Is Dong XZ at my house? Uncle Gio shook his head and said, I've checked and there's nothing. Your house is even cleaner than a temple. Uncle Gio made a small joke along the way. Can it not be clean? The only unclean thing, the ghost servant poisonous tongue woman, has been kicked out by Lu Yao. Just as Uncle Gio entered the door, Lu Yao contacted the ghost servant with his mind and sent him out. Due to the street in front and behind the house, and the alleys on both sides, it is uncertain when people will pass through. So, to be on the safe side, Lu Yao had the poisonous tongue woman go to Uncle Gio's house to hide. The most dangerous place is the safest place, and it has a strong yin energy, which also helps the tongue twister digest Zhao Xiaoyuan's tongue. That's also why when Uncle Gio asked Kaya Shengwen to go home and pick up things, Lu Yao would stop him. Fortunately, in the end, Kaya Shengwen returned home and did not find the existence of the poisonous tongue woman, otherwise it would have been another trouble. The bottom of the soup in the pot was boiling, and Lu Yao called out, come on, put in the meat, let's eat it open. If it's not enough, there's more in the kitchen. Upon hearing this, Zhou Wen Kai became even more excited and quickly went crazy to put meat in the pot. Lu Yao then boiled the meat and said, since we haven't found the faceless woman, what should we do next? Do we still need to continue tracking? No, the city god is in charge of finding the faceless woman. We have other things to do, said Uncle Gio. What's going on? Lu Yao picked up a piece of meat and dipped it in the seasoning. As he ate it, the aroma of the soup base mixed with the sour and spicy taste of the seasoning, combined with the tender taste of the meat slices, made Lu Yao feel numb all over. It's so fragrant. It's so delicious. Wen Kai couldn't help but exclaim, I used to eat hot pot meat too, why isn't it so delicious? It must be Uncle who made the bottom of the pot well. Qiusheng looked at Lu Yao and said, Uncle, can you teach me how to make it? Sure, Lu Yao said. Anyway, this is not a unique secret recipe. Thank you, Uncle. Look at you. Uncle Gio swallowed a piece of meat and pursed his lips, trying to suppress the urge to pick up a large chopstick of meat and stuff it into his mouth. Upon hearing Uncle Gio's scolding, Kaya Shengwen restrained a bit and his face stiffened. Uncle Gio, let them eat freely. Lu Yao smiled and said, anyway, there aren't many opportunities like this. Let them eat freely. Okay. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Uncle. Oh, by the way, Lu Yao added, the pork ribs are also cooked and ready to eat. The cold wind howled outside. Hot pot is boiling inside the house. These days, Midi is very beautiful. Do you still remember the woman you saw when you went to Qinhuang Temple this afternoon? When waiting for the next wave of cooked meat, Uncle Gio began to talk again. I remember. Lu Yao nodded, I remember that woman seemed to be crying. It must be something happened at home, that's why she worshipped the city god and wanted to seek protection. Recalling the woman in the afternoon, Lu Yao felt puzzled. She clearly went to pay respects to the city god, but why did the city god bring bad luck to her? Something happened. Uncle Gio picked up another piece of meat and said, her husband died 3 days ago. This is really unfortunate news. I became a widow at such a young age. What should I do in the future? She killed well. Lu Yao. The matter was about to be exposed, so she begged the White City god to make that day come later. I see. But judging from your expression, Uncle Gio, this matter may not be that simple, right? Well, that's it. Uncle Gio put down his chopsticks and looked serious. The night before yesterday, someone saw her husband appear at the doorstep. Reincarnation. It's only been 3 days since I died, and it's not yet time for me to reincarnate. Lu Yao became interested. That's right, the key issue is that someone saw her husband holding her hand and appearing together at the doorstep. Are you sure this person is not mistaken? Absolutely not, because many people have seen that scene. If only one person saw it, it could be said that they were mistaken, but if they saw 2, 3, or even 10, then there was indeed a problem. What did this little widow say? She also saw. This sounds interesting. Uncle Gio, are you going to handle it tonight? I also want to go, can you take me with you? Lu Yao wanted to join in the fun. Well. Uncle Gio looked puzzled and said, you didn't save your life. Hey. This pork ribs are really delicious. Have you eaten a lot, Uncle Gio? Come on, eat a few more pieces, don't be embarrassed. Lu Yao smiled and gave Uncle Gio a few pieces of pork ribs. Looking at the ribs in the bowl and the clean bones gnawed on the side of the bowl, Uncle Gio couldn't help but sigh. Ah, okay, then you can go with me. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Blessings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Blessings. After dinner, Chiu Shengwen helped Lu Yao wash the dishes. And Uncle Gio returned home early to prepare what he needed tonight. After packing up, Lu Yao said, you two go help Uncle Gio pack up his things first. I need to make some preparations. Chiu Shengwen's face was puzzled. Especially in autumn, with a blink of an eye, there must be no good thing. Uncle, what are you going to prepare? Did you even hide the pork ribs and refuse to give them to us? Chiu Sheng seemed to be joking, but in fact, he was trying to test Lu Yao. Lu Yao looked at Chiu Sheng with a smile and nodded, saying, yes, I hid a few pieces. Do you have any objections? Chiu Sheng's smile stiffened and he waved his hand. I dare not dare, uncle. We're wrong. Wen Kai, let's take a walk. Hurry up and help Uncle Gio pack up. After driving Chiu Sheng and Wen Kai out, Lu Yao went to the backyard and knocked on the wall. Shoo! Bang! A straight figure jumped in from outside the wall, landed on the ground, and stood motionless at the base of the wall. Poisonous-tongued woman Lu Yao has to settle this guy down before he goes out. Just stay at home and don't move around. I'll take care of some things and buy you oranges when I come back. The poisonous-tongued woman must not understand, but she knows she has to stay at home. Just stay under the bed for now. Lu Yao stuffed the poisonous-tongued woman under the bed, looking as if there was a corpse lying under the bed. Next, he took out cinnabar, rune paper, and black dog blood and chicken blood that he had obtained from Uncle Gio. Blended into ink, Lu Yao calmed down and held his brush. He doesn't know how to write with a brush, but he has mastered the technique of depicting the heavenly thunder talisman, so it's not really difficult to write. A brush dipped in talismans danced on the narrow yellow paper, and after a moment, a sky thunder talisman was drawn. But at this moment, Lu Yao collapsed on the table, feeling as if he had collapsed. He was sweating all over, his head was dizzy, and his vision was blurry as if it were filled with a mosaic. What kind of ghost? Just a talisman took me out. Is this body so weak? Writing talismans requires the consumption of a person's energy and spirit, which Lu Yao is aware of. But he didn't expect the consumption to be so high. This feels like Lin Chan has fought 17 times 2 hours each time. Lu Yao supported the table with his hand and slowly stood up, his hands and legs trembling. No, I don't even have the strength to step on my legs. Lu Yao panted heavily and with a movement of his mind, summoned the poisonous-tongued woman from under the bed. I saw the poisonous-tongued woman lying horizontally under the bed, sliding out in parallel, standing up straight and walking stiffly to Lu Yao. She bent down and gestured for Lu Yao to get on his horse. Lu Yao did not show any affectation and collapsed forward, directly lying on the back of the poisonous-tongued woman. These broad shoulders are really cold, but my heart is warm. Sure enough, it's better to have a woman at home. There are really no women, even female ghosts can make do with it. The poisonous-tongued woman carried Lu Yao behind her back and, guided by Lu Yao's thoughts, came to the kitchen. Lu Yao now needs to supplement his nutrition and can only do so by consuming food. Lu Yao did not lie to Qiusheng. He did secretly leave a few pork ribs, but they were not for himself to eat, but for the crazy woman next door. Zhao Xiaoyuan was beaten to death by himself, so he definitely can't go home. There should be only a woman left next door now. If we don't send her some food, she might really starve to death. But now, anyway, let's just feed myself first. I won't starve her to death even if I eat less. Lu Yao felt sorry for the foolish lady next door, and tears couldn't help flowing from the corner of his mouth. With tears in his eyes, he finished eating a few pieces of pork ribs. Not to mention, after eating a few pieces of meat, my stomach immediately felt full and my weakness subsided. Lu Yao now feels strong all over, even able to kill a cow. At this moment, the system had a problem. Ghost Servant has digested and obtained 1/3 of the original power of Evil Tongue Sha. Please convert it. Lu Yao was stunned for a moment. He suddenly remembered, the poisonous tongue woman directly ate Zhao Xiaoyuan's worm-wriggling tongue at that time. And the half of his face that he had shaved off was also eaten by the poisonous tongue woman. I didn't expect the poisonous tongue woman to be able to digest this thing. Wait a moment, how could 1/3 of the original power have so much? Lu Yao regained his senses and realized that 1/3 of Zhao Xiaoyuan's original power was actually more than all the original power of the faceless woman, about twice the proportion. Be good, a red face is indeed stronger than a no face. However, Zhao Xiaoyuan will definitely come to seek revenge, and it will be time for me to use the Heavenly Thunder Talisman. Lu Yao won't let go of this kind of remedial thing, he must find a way to take it. Now, everything is ready and Lu Yao has left the door. In this era, there were no streetlights, so the streets were pitch black. The foolish lady next door was afraid of the dark and had already run back home without leaving. Lu Yao looked at his neighbor's wooden door and couldn't help but wonder if the foolish woman tonight would find it strange to see her daughter not coming home. Without her daughter's care, would she have an accident? I hope she's really pretending to be foolish. Lu Yao walked forward and knocked on Uncle Jio's door. Squeak. Uncle Jio happened to come out with 2 disciples. Coming. Uncle Jio smiled and said, let's go, let's go. Lu Yao didn't know the way, so he let Qiusheng lead the way. He and Uncle Jio walked behind chatting, while Wen Kai obediently followed by his side. Qiusheng held a burning incense in his hand. Perhaps the skills of this era were not advanced enough. When incense candles were burned, they produced a very large amount of smoke, and the entire street was almost filled with light blue smoke. At this moment, 4 people walked towards a group of people, looking like a team, walking very neatly. The security guard at the yamen. Lu Yao thought to himself. However, there is no need to worry. Uncle Jio knows most of the people in this yamen and will not make things difficult for them. Sure enough, as the leading security guard passed by, he saw Uncle Jio and waved his hand to stop the queue. Uncle Jio. The security captain came up and said hello. Blessed. Uncle Jio also recognized the security captain. Blessed. Lu Yao frowned. That's not right, shouldn't the security captain be that guy away? How did you become blessed? Uncle Jio continued, didn't your appointment expire? Why are you still here? Don't mention it. Captain Youfu waved his hand, the person who will take over from me hasn't arrived yet. I can't leave until he arrives. By the way, Uncle Jio, what are you doing? Youfu looked around the 4 of them separately, and his gaze paused a little longer on Lu Yao. There's something wrong with the case you're investigating, I need to deal with it, said Uncle Jio. Are you saying patricide? Youfu said in the end, lowering his voice. Uncle Jio nodded, maybe we can help you solve the case. That's great. Youfu seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Although we suspect that woman, we have no evidence. If Uncle Gio can really help us solve this case, I will ask the Yamen to give you a reward. Bounty. Uncle Gio's eyes lit up and he quickly became serious, saying, let's talk about it later. What are you doing? By the way, this matter really has something to do with you. Yofu whispered, a person has died across your house, and someone has reported it to the government. What? Across from my house. Uncle Gio's face changed as he turned his head to look at Lu Yao and took a step back. Chilsheng Wenkai saw the situation and quickly retreated, distancing himself from Lu Yao. Lu Yao couldn't help but frown and said, Captain Yofu, are you talking about Uncle Gio's family? Uncle Gio's family lives across from me. Isn't that saying I'm dead? It's not directly opposite the door, it's diagonally opposite the door, Yofu said. Do you live across from Uncle Gio? Aren't you neighbors of the family where the accident occurred? As you say, it is indeed a neighbor, but... Which family are you referring to? Lu Yao asked. Captain Yofu scratched his head and looked at the people around him, asking, what was the name of the deceased? Zhao Xiaoyuan, his subordinate replied. Lu Yao's face suddenly changed. The deceased. Zhao Xiaoyuan. Damn it, doesn't that mean he's the murderer? Lu Yao tried his best to remain calm and asked, how long has this person been dead? I saw her go out this afternoon. Not long, Captain Yofu said, about an hour or two ago. The detailed situation will only be known after the autopsy. Miss Xiao Zhao is a good child. Uncle Gio also knew Zhao Xiaoyuan. At this moment, when he heard the news of her death, he looked very sad. Chilsheng Wenkai felt as if his wife had died, with a face full of sorrow. Obviously, these two have thoughts about Zhao Xiaoyuan at this moment. Lu Yao was lost in thought. A wave of unease in his heart was gradually amplifying. There was no shouting around the house, which means Zhao Xiaoyuan didn't die outside. After being injured by oneself, he fled back home and died at home. So the question is, who went to the Yamen to report the case? It is impossible for a foolish woman to make such a report. If she is really foolish, she cannot do such a thing as reporting a case. If she was pretending to be foolish, then Lu Yao could at least hear the pitiful cries or loud cries of a foolish woman after she died, and it would definitely not be as quiet as what he saw. So, who saw Zhao Xiaoyuan's death and reported it to the Yamen? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Has a general idea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 has a general idea. Time is urgent, Uncle Gio. I will visit you at the door another day. Goodbye first, I'm afraid the scene will be damaged if I go late. Captain Yofu bid farewell to Uncle Gio. Hurry over. Take these wooden incense. Uncle Gio handed a handful of incense from Chilsheng's hand to Captain Yofu. Well. Thank you very much, Uncle Nine. Captain Yofu knew how important this was, so he didn't refuse. With this incense, at least tonight will be safe. Both sides bid farewell and headed to their respective destinations. I never expected that Zhao Xiaoyuan would die. As he continued on his journey, Uncle Gio couldn't help but sigh. A pretty good girl, it's really a pity. Uncle Gio, do you have much contact with Zhao Xiaoyuan's family on weekdays? Lu Yao took the opportunity to ask. It's pretty good, Uncle Gio said. We used to drink together often when her father was still around. Unfortunately, when old Zhao left, his wife went crazy again, leaving Zhao Xiaoyuan to manage the whole family alone. It's really not easy. After the death of Lao Zhao, do you still often come and go with his family, or are you limited to meeting and saying hello on the road? Of course it's just a face-to-face greeting. Uncle Gio glared. Do you think, what's wrong with me being a bachelor and going in and out of a widow's house every day? That's right. Lu Yao couldn't help but smile, but he was puzzled inside. The abnormality on Zhao Xiaoyuan's body is beyond doubt, but how did she become like this? When did it become like this again? Also, what was the original Lu Yao trying to do when he brought the girl home in the middle of the night? Is it really just a superficial intention? It seems that the missing memory is very important. Lu Yao thought to himself, unfortunately, I can't even remember those things. Let's take it slow. But Lu Yao remembered Captain Yofu who rushed to the scene. I hope they are safe. It's here. A alleyway came out, and Uncle Gio pointed to a house in front with 2 white lanterns hanging at the door and said. The street was desolate, with occasional gusts of cold wind blowing, making the entrance of the house eerily like a ghost gate. Lu Yao's gaze surveyed around and did not find any problems. And Uncle Gio had already picked up the compass in his hand. It's very safe nearby. Uncle Gio looked at the stationary compass and said, that thing isn't here. Uncle Gio, look over there. Lu Yao pointed to the other end of the road and said. At this moment, the road, which should have been barely visible under the moonlight, was pitch black, and the narrow path extended into the rich darkness at the other end. Lu Yao's heart sank. He felt a palpitating force from that darkness. Oh no, it's a soul-restraining envoy. I don't know if it's a bull-headed horse face or black and white impermanence. Uncle Gio's face was also solemn. Master, what are you looking at? What's up ahead? Qiushin couldn't help but wonder. Yes, Master, what's there? Your expressions are so scary. When Kai hid behind Uncle Gio, his body trembling slightly with fear. Upon hearing their words, Uncle Gio frowned and turned his head to look at Lu Yao. At this moment, Lu Yao's face was slightly awkward. Damn it, it's exposed. Unexpectedly, ordinary people couldn't even see the mutation on the other side of the road. Facing Uncle Gio's gaze, Lu Yao awkwardly smiled and remained silent. Uncle Gio didn't say anything, but judging from his eyes, he probably had some thoughts to talk to Lu Yao. Da. Footsteps could be heard ahead, and 2 figures emerged from the darkness. Black and white, each wearing a high hat and holding a mourning baton in their hand. Black and white impermanence. Lu Yao's eyes narrowed and he pressed his hand on his pocket. Uncle Gio's face remained unchanged. After all, he was an old friend. Both sides had been dealing with each other for many years and were very familiar with each other. Lin Laojiu, long time no see. Bai Wuchang spoke in greeting, his voice sharp and piercing. Although it was a man's voice, it sounded like a woman's sharp cry. 2 adults. Uncle Gio greeted, I don't know why you 2 came to. Look at what you're asking. What else can we do here for? Of course, it's to seduce the soul. Bai Wuchang covered his mouth and smiled, but. What about you? What are you guys doing here, master and apprentice? Even Lu Tsuantian's son has come over, don't tell me he's here for shopping. Speaking, Bai Wuchang's gaze fell on Lu Yao, looking at him with a strange expression in his eyes. Being stared at by Bai Wuchang, Lu Yao trembled all over, as if he had been targeted by a fierce beast. However, Lu Yao remained calm for a moment, his gaze fixed on Bai Wuchang, unwilling to be outdone. From the current situation, the reputation left by his father Lu Tsuantian is so great that many people have to give in 3 points. So, Lu Yao is not worried about exposing anything, let alone that Bai Wuchang will retaliate for his unkind gaze. Something's up, Uncle Gio replied briefly in 2 words. Oh, coincidentally, we also have something to do. I just don't know if our things are the same, Bai Wuchang sneered. He was not contemptuous of Uncle Gio, but his original mental state and personality made Bai Wuchang's every move disappear in contempt of everyone. Uncle Gio pointed to the house with a white lantern hanging at the door. Bai Wuchang smiled and said, at least it's in the same place. Then don't waste your time, Uncle Gio said. Let's go in and take a look. 4 people, along with 2 soul guards, walked towards this household. As we approached the door, the 2 white lanterns suddenly went out. A dark wind blew by, and the two extinguished lanterns creaked and shook. "Be careful," Uncle Gio reminded. Lu Yao pulled out the Thunder Talisman. Once there is a life-threatening danger, he will immediately activate this Thunderbolt Talisman. "Ah! Master, look!" Qiusheng suddenly shouted, pointing to the frightened face inside the door and retreating repeatedly. Lu Yao looked inside the door and saw a red figure floating in mid-air in the pitch-black courtyard, like a western pendulum, swaying left and right without decreasing in amplitude. This does not conform to the laws of physics. "Interesting," the Hong Sha. Bai Wuchang chuckled, "the hanging ghost in red clothes is forcing himself to become the Hong Sha. I really don't know what kind of grudges or grievances he has. Unfortunately, he ran into Grandpa Bai." Obviously, Bai Wuchang did not take this big red demon seriously. Looking at the restless Bai Wuchang, Lu Yao frowned. Will the other party not notice the loud noise when black and white impermanence emerges? Since you know that black and white impermanence is here and dare to appear and cause trouble, then you must have some reliance. Lu Yao couldn't determine where this reliance came from, whether it was the strength of the Great Red Sha itself, or if there were other ambushes nearby. And at this moment, Bai Wuchang took action. He held the white morning stick high and rushed towards the door. "Kid, let me show you Grandpa Bai's prowess." Squeak. Bang. The wooden door suddenly closed, and Bai Wuchang slammed his head against it, throwing his body backwards and falling heavily to the ground. Black Wuchang said, "Oh my God, big brother, what's wrong with you?" From his appearance until now, Black Wuchang spoke for the first time with an inexplicable sense of joy. "There is a forbidden law on this door. No ghosts or monsters can touch it." Bai Wuchang gritted his teeth tightly, the Great Red Sha must not be able to produce this thing. There must be other people from the Yin and Yang realms nearby. When Lu Yao saw a fist suddenly shining with golden runes on the door, he already thought of it. "It seems that this is just a reliance, but I don't know where I am hiding." Qiusheng Wenkai, bring black dog blood. Uncle Gio is also about to take action. I saw Qiusheng quickly take out a wooden jar from the bundle on his body, unscrew it, and hand it to Uncle Gio. "Urgent as a law." Uncle Gio shouted loudly, and then he poured all the black dog blood from the jar onto the door. In an instant, all the runes on the door were diluted and blurred. Immediately after, Uncle Gio rushed forward and kicked the door open. Bang. 2 doors fell to the ground in response. However, the beam frame on the door broke and fell, hitting Uncle Gio's head. "Grandma, it seems that my bad luck hasn't cleared up yet. It hurts me so much." Uncle Gio covered his head and cursed. Lu Yao rushed into the yard ahead of him. The big red demon is no longer visible in the empty courtyard. Only one body just like the Hongsha was hung on the beam by hemp rope. "It's the woman I saw in the Chenghuang temple during the day." Lu Yao recognized the face of the corpse. However, at this moment, the door behind Lu Yao suddenly closed, and a thick black mist completely enveloped him. Looking at the diffuse black mist nearby, Lu Yao couldn't help but shake his head. "Damn it, I was careless. I didn't expect the other party to have a hand." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Thunder Talisman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 10. Body Splicing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Body Splicing. Master, shouldn't that thunder just now be? Outside the courtyard, Qiusheng was still in a state of shock from lightning. Just now, the lightning that was within reach almost affected them all. "It's the Thunder Talisman." Uncle Gio's face was solemn. "The situation is a bit severe." Even after using the Thunder Talisman, he still couldn't escape from the mist. "I'm afraid it's more or less unlucky." "Master, what should we do now?" "Find a way to resolve the fog." Uncle Nine turned towards black and white impermanence and said, two adults, count me Lin Laojiu. Please help me handle this matter and save Lu Yao. Black and white impermanents glanced at each other, as if communicating opinions through eye contact. Bai Wuchang nodded and said, okay, after all, he is Lu Tsuantian's son. No matter what, we have to help with this matter. Both sides have reached a consensus that Lu Yao must be rescued. We cannot enter the mist, so we must find a way to solve the source of the mist. Uncle Jio's gaze crossed the yard and landed on the coffin of the gift. The source of the ghost mist must be related to this coffin. Let's go take a look. A strong red light emanated from De Hong Sha's body. Faced with the crimson and purplish red demon, Lu Yao couldn't help but frown and said, how did you two reach an agreement? And who has such great ability to piece you two together like this? It's unbelievable. Although Lu Yao sighed, upon careful consideration, in this world where evil laws dance wildly, splicing two completely different corpses doesn't seem like a particularly special ability. Do you want to know? De Hong Sha sneered, go ask the Prince Yen. The red light flashed by, and the body of De Hong Sha instantly disappeared into place. At the next moment, a bright red demon appeared next to Lu Yao, with a sharp nail on his right arm piercing his forehead. Die. De Hong Sha laughed wildly. It seemed to have foreseen the wonderful scene of nails piercing into Lu Yao's forehead and blood splattering. But Lu Yao's unexpected calmness made De Hong Sha feel puzzled. Why doesn't he move? Why does he dare to stand still? Where did he get his confidence? This calm demeanor made De Hong Sha feel a bit uneasy, and her emotions gradually became irritable. Just as his nails were about to pierce Lu Yao's forehead, he smiled slightly and his whole body flew up, floating in mid-air. Lu Yao looked at the big red demon below and smiled, I didn't expect it, did I? I can fly. De Hong Sha. It is absolutely impossible for a person to fly out of thin air. But if certain tools are used as carriers, it can be easily achieved. For example, Lu Yao's ghost rope. Although it is unclear where this ghost rope extends from above, it cannot be denied that at critical moments, the ghost rope will always appear. How did you do it? De Hong Sha looked at Lu Yao in surprise. Although Lu Yao's body was swaying in mid-air, it was gradually stabilizing. Want to know? I can also let you fly. Lu Yao snapped his fingers. In an instant, a black rope wrapped around the neck of De Hong Sha, hanging him in mid-air. From a distance, it looks like a hanging ghost wearing red clothes. You. After struggling twice, De Hong Sha sneered coldly and said, do you think that this will destroy me? De Hong Sha's hand grasped the ghost rope and pulled hard towards both sides. Zila. Zizi, the ghost rope is gradually breaking. It's okay, continue. Lu Yao smiled slightly, allowing De Hong Sha to tear the ghost rope without any action. De Hong Sha's heart was becoming increasingly uncertain. But it couldn't imagine what tricks Lu Yao in front of it could use to deal with it. Tear it off. Suddenly, two more ghost ropes fell from the sky, as if they were self-awareness, precisely entwined around De Hong Sha's wrist. The action of tearing the ghost rope was forced to stop, and De Hong Sha had to spare no effort to deal with the two newly fallen ghost ropes. Damn it! Damn it! Who the hell are you? De Hong Sha's neck was strangled with a bloody opening, and various tissue fragments splattered outwards. This bloody scene was like a long-awaited feast for Lu Yao. He looked at De Hong Sha's neck and couldn't help but fall into contemplation. Well behaved. The two halves of the body were actually skin and flesh growing together, not sewn together. That's right, I was foolish. You could tell this from the joint marks on my face. But how did this happen? Lu Yao is particularly interested in the ability of different individuals to grow skin and flesh together. Go ask the Prince Yen. Click. Bark. De Hong Sha's neck was severed, her head fell to the ground, rolled a few times, and then stood under the wall. The headless body fell downwards, but was suspended by two ghost ropes wrapped around the wrist, which prevented it from falling to the ground. Do you only know this one sentence? Lu Yao stared at the Hongsha's head and said helplessly. When I ask myself something, the other person only answers. Go ask the king of hell like a repeating machine. Death. Whoosh. The Hongsha's head suddenly rose up in the air, spun around in the air, and then headed straight towards Lu Yao. Lu Yao doesn't take his head seriously, but in order to test his potential, he decided to play with this head. The Hongsha's head rushed like a shell. Lu Yao's mind moved and countless ghost ropes suddenly appeared, quickly weaving into a net in front of him. Each ghost rope curved and twisted, forming a part of the net in its own position. The Hongsha's head crashed straight into the ghost rope. The entire ghost net sinks backwards, like a spring bed that has been erected. Immediately after, all the ghost ropes were tightened, and the ghost net instantly bounced the Hongsha's head out. The spliced head fell to the ground, rolled a few laps, and then flew up again, but this time there was no use attacking again. Lu Yao noticed that the great red Sha had stopped attacking, and couldn't help but feel puzzled. His inner vigilance did not relax. At this moment, a tearing sound came from above. Tearing the headless body of the Hong Sha couldn't withstand the pull of the ghost rope and instantly split into pieces. All body parts fall to the ground one by one. Something's wrong. Lu Yao frowned tightly. This headless corpse was decomposed too easily. Just now, it was effortlessly fighting against the power of the ghost rope, but suddenly it shattered in an instant. This feeling is like a tug of war, and the moment the group on the other side lets go, Lu Yao instinctively sensed a slight abnormality, but couldn't pinpoint where the problem was. You actually destroyed my body. The Hongsha's head looked sad. Lu Yao was about to say something, but was suddenly interrupted. Witnessing the great red Sha's ability to use it and obtaining intermediate skill. Body disassemble. Lu Yao. TSK, the feeling of having cheats is really good. So, is the Hong Sha intentionally breaking open his body? Lu Yao had a clear understanding in his heart. He still has to wait. After the Hong Sha reassembles his body, he can start by himself. This way, you can learn one more skill secretly. Don't be sad, I will help you burn it and bury you. Lu Yao acted in conjunction with the Hong Sha. I will turn a blind eye to what needs to be performed with you, you wicked person. The Hong Sha angrily cursed. You'd better be polite, after all, only I can collect your body now, Lu Yao said. The Hong Sha's face stiffened, but a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. It believes that Lu Yao has already taken the bait. It's our fault. The Hong Sha apologized, we apologize to you. Please put our sleep together and bury us. What benefits can you give me? Well. The Hong Sha didn't expect Lu Yao to say that, and he quickly realized, we can tell you who made us look like this. Deal. Lu Yao used a ghost rope to hang and stacked all the corpses together. Just then, the Hong Sha suddenly spoke up and shouted, be careful behind you. Lu Yao suddenly turned around and saw a finger flying over from behind, with bright red nails piercing straight into his eyes. Lu Yao's mind moved, and the ghost net was instantly dismantled. Ropes wrapped around his body and were woven back into a net, blocking the flying fingers. Hazard elimination. Lu Yao turned around expressionlessly and looked behind him. The recovered body of the Hong Sha is lifting its head and placing it back on its neck. Witnessing the great red Sha unleashing its abilities and obtaining advanced skills. Body splicing. End of this chapter.